Hi guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guide. Thanks very much for joining me today. First of all, I just want to apologise for the lack of content that I've had, or that hasn't been out over the last couple of weeks. If you follow me on social media like Facebook, Twitter, that type of thing, and Instagram, you'll probably realise that around about the beginning of July there, I had to go over to Northern Ireland. My dad took real bad, and I basically just had to go over and look after my brother and my mum until he was back out of hospital, that type of thing. But he's absolutely fine now, and there's no issues at all. But it was quite scary, and it was just something that threw me for a little bit actually. While I was over there, I was more concerned about looking after my mum and my brother than it was anything else, and so I didn't really have time to reflect on what was going on or what could have happened. And when I got back, as much as I wanted to start getting back into doing reviews and stuff like that, it just took me a while to wrap my head around it. Thankfully, the trip over to Northern Ireland is like 40 minutes, I think it is, on a plane, which wasn't too bad for me. And my brother picked us up from the airport, but when there's something like that, you just have to put things aside. And unfortunately, as painful as it was going over there, it had to be done. And it's one of the reasons why I don't go home that often, actually. The last time I was back over Northern Ireland, I think, was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, so I'm back now in any case, and I've got a review here of the Soho Urban Artist Colour Pencils, which is the in-shop brand for Jerry's Artarama. Now, for those of you in the UK and outside America, basically, you will find it very difficult to get hold of these pencils. So, I'm afraid this review is going to be a little bit difficult for you to watch if at the end of it you think you might like these pencils, because the only way that you're going to get hold of them is if you've got any family or friends in the States that can buy them for you and ship them over. I think Jerry's do shipping to the UK and stuff like that from their website, but I think there has to be a limit on it. I think there has to be a certain value on it before they'll ship it out, so that they're not losing money, type of thing. So I'm not 100% sure whether colour pencils comes into that category. But other than that, you have to get a family or friend to buy them for you and ship them over for you. Jerry's Artarama is a huge art store that's in the States. There's lots of them dotted all over the place. It was formed by Jerry Goldstein a long time ago. Jerry Goldstein and his grandson now. I'm not sure whether Mike actually runs the company, but he has a lot to do with things like, I suppose it's really like customer relations. He has a fantastic YouTube channel where he has this ongoing video series called Artist Problems, and it gets absolutely amazing watching how Mike goes through the different problems that artists have and what have you, and he's incredibly funny. He brings a lot of humour into it, at the same time bringing a lot of science into it whenever he's talking about certain paints and things like that, the toxicity of them or whether they blend and stuff like that. If you haven't seen Mike's videos, the YouTube channel that I'm talking about, I'll have a link for it down below. You should definitely go across, take a look at it. Also, Mike has an Instagram page as well, which is excellent. So I'll put a link down below for Mike's Instagram page as well. He's an incredibly genuine guy, and over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been talking back and forth with him and stuff like that, and he's helped me understand a lot of things with regards to colour pencils and stuff like that. So I value Mike's opinion a great deal. So I reached out to Jerry's, and asked them if they would send these over to me for review, and I was very fortunate that they did. They sent me this 72 set over. Originally, this review was penciled in to be in Colour Pencil magazine. I think it was in the June edition. But obviously, my review didn't get into it because of what happened with the magazine. But needless to say, I still had an obligation to the company to do the review, which I absolutely was always going to uphold. And so here it is. Now, but one other thing I want to say about this review. I have said quite a few times that I personally don't think there's any such thing as like a bad pencil, a bad colour pencil. You'll hear people say from time to time, oh, they're not very good, those coloured pencils, or those colour pencils are the best colour pencils ever, that type of thing. In my opinion, after doing the testing that I have, the extensive testing that I've done, the extensive research that I've done with regards to colour pencils, I personally don't believe that there's any such thing as a bad pencil. I think it's just a simple case of making sure that you have the right paper for that particular the core of the pencil, the ingredient that's in that core, whether it's, and I hate saying this, predominantly wax or predominantly oil based, because I don't really think there's any such thing. There's so many different ingredients that go into colour pencil cores now, it's unbelievable. But whether it's a hard or a soft core, that type of thing, I think the paper has a huge deal to do with whether the pencils will work well and how they layer well and how the pigment comes down. And this review is going to illustrate that beautifully. Because when I first started using these pencils, I had a real tough time with them, and I was at a point where I was like really not enjoying using them. But as it turned out, it was purely and simply down to the paper I was using. So the first paper actually, before I get into all that, let's just get into the pencils and we'll go through the characteristics and that type of thing of the pencils. So as you can see here, this is a 72 set. Now they come in a set of 12, 24, 36, 72, and they're also open stock. Just let me set those down. If you just have a look on the back here as well, there is a colour chart here on the back of the 72 set. There's a beautiful selection of colours in this 72 set, which was one of the reasons why I was so frustrated with the first few attempts that I was using these pencils on. Because I've obviously done some artwork with them. I've done a speed drawing as well, so to help demonstrate the pencils. But the first 2 or 3 speed drawings that I had recorded and tried to take photographs of the artwork that I'd done, it just wasn't working out for me at all. But having such beautiful colours in here, that's what was frustrating me, because I wasn't getting those colours. So if we take this sleeve off, this is just a cardboard sleeve, and we'll set it aside over there. And so open the tin up. It's just an ordinary silver tin. There's nothing on the back or the top of it or anything. They got all the information's on the sleeve that I've just taken off there. I've got a couple of pencils out here because I'm going to use them for testing. But as you can see here, there's a beautiful selection of greens. The greys, there's a couple of nice warm greys here. There's an urban grey that they say. They've got 2 blacks in here. They've got an ivory black and what they call a lamp black. Which is just kind of like a dark grey. The lamp black is really quite nice. The black isn't really deep, but I know it's not like a deep dark black, but I know in any case, colour pencil artists try to stay away from using just the black pencil in any case. They tend to mix it up. As you can see here as well, that there's a beautiful selection of blues and that type of thing, purples, pinks, some really nice flesh tones in here, and some nice browns and reds as well. A nice selection of reds. So all in all, it's a really nice palette of the 72 pencils. Now, although these pencils are Jerry's in-house brand, so to speak, these pencils are made by Create-A-Colour. I'm sure you've heard of this company before. They're an Austrian company. They produce these pencils for Jerry's. And obviously Jerry's sell them on from inside Jerry's Artarama. So let me just move this back over here, and let me just grab one of these pencils. And we'll go through the characteristics of the actual pencil. So as you can see here, it's a really nice core. It's a nice thick pencil. There's a nice balance to this pencil. It's a 3.8mm core, so a nice generous core. It's held within a 7.5mm barrel. It's a hexagonal barrel. And as you can see here, it's a black matte finish. Now, at the end of the pencil here, there's like an inch flash of pigment colour, indicating the actual core colour as well. Now, not all of them are representative of the true core colour, but you want to know something? If anybody can tell me a set of colour pencils where the flash colour on the end or the barrel colour indicating the pigment colour is identical to the pigment, please let me know, because it's really difficult for companies to get those types of things identical, but it is close to it. Another really good thing about this here is that the writing on this barrel is white and against the black background shows up remarkably well. Sometimes this can be difficult to read whenever it's like gold or silver print on it when it reflects off the light. So along the barrel here we have Soho Urban Artist, which is the name of the pencil. Then it just says coloured pencil. It says Austria here, which is obviously an indication that it's created by Credicolour, which is an Austrian company. We turn this over again here, and then here we have the pigment name printed, and then here we have a number which is correspondent to the actual pigment. That's for open stock purposes. Now again, open stock is widely available in America, Jerry's, that type of thing. You go into a Jerry's and you'll find lots of these open stock. You'll be able to order them online. Again, even if you did get a 72 set here, if you were here in the UK, you purchased a 72 set and you got somebody from America to send them over to you, I obviously think then to get these open stock would either be difficult in terms of time, shipping, that type of thing. You'd have to make sure you're giving yourself plenty of time to reorder open stock, and secondly, it would probably cost more. In any case, you know, it probably wouldn't really be worth it, which is heartbreaking, because I would love Jerry's to open up a few stores here in the UK. I really would. I think it's from what I see of it, from what I've been online and heard other people talk about Jerry's, it really is a fantastic store. I mean, when you go onto their website, they do fantastic deals. They have always got deals going on, and they've got such a wide range of like journals, papers, pencils, markers, all sorts of things. Jerry's are always well stocked like that, and so I would just wish that maybe they would come over here. Anyway, so let's put that to the side, and then we'll get into the reason why I was having so much trouble with them. So I'm going to show you a couple of images here. So the first image that I done was of it was a botanical image, and it was oranges. Now I used some Derwent watercolor paper. Now I use this paper quite a lot because I really like it. It's a nice soft paper. It's a hot press paper. I just like this Derwent watercolor paper. It's not what I use if I'm doing like a real intricate piece for myself or something like that. I'll use something like the Strathmore Bristol Plate 500 series, which I did try these pencils with, but they didn't work that well on smooth paper. Now that's sometimes the case with colored pencils, and so I tried Bristol Vellum paper, and again I got a slightly better result, but not drastically better, if you understand what I mean. So I was having a look through my paper that I had, and I found this paper that I picked up in a local art store. This is a Canson pastel paper, and I thought to myself, what the hell, I'll try it. And so I'll try and show you the grain here on it. The image that I have up is the image that I've done the speed drawing on, and obviously was the final image that I'd done on this paper I'm showing you. If you can see there, that is obviously the pastel side of the paper. That's what you would use for your pastels. But then on the other side, it's slightly smoother, but there is tooth to it. There is like a grain to it. And so I thought to myself, I'll try this paper. I'll cut it into an A5 size, and I'll try a drawing with it. Now this was like the third or fourth drawing that I tried with these pencils, but let me tell you, when I started using this paper, these pencils were just like it was like somebody had handed me a completely different set of pencils. Prior to that, I was of the opinion that these pencils were low pigment, that they didn't layer very well, and that was just completely wiped out by using the pencils on the right type of paper for me. I say the right type of paper for me because a lot of it has to do with how heavy-handed you are, how light you are, whether you like to, lay down really, really light layers. A lot of it is dependent on the actual artist as well. But for the way I do art, this paper worked absolutely beautifully on these pencils. Now, I had another pad here, which is very, very similar. If you have a look, it's another Canson pad here. If you have a look there, you can see the grain of the paper, the tooth that's on there. But it's a slightly thicker paper, so I preferred using that. But again, these pencils worked absolutely phenomenal on this paper. Really, really nice. So I'm just going to set this to the side, and we'll have a look at some tests that I've done. But don't forget, you can see the full speed drawing, which is a proper demonstration of the pencils and how bright and vibrant that the pigment really is, and how it turned out, and how the drawing of the conker turned out that I did. Now, it's not a masterpiece or anything like that, but it is a good demonstration, I think, of how deep and rich that these colours ended up being with these pencils. And what's really good about it is in particular, bearing in mind, I wasn't really enjoying using these pencils, and I think that's what's really important about this review. When I first started using these pencils properly, like trying to do some artwork with them, I was having so many problems with them. And it all came down to making sure I was using the right paper, which is what I always say to colour pencil artists whenever they're asking me questions, or whenever they say to me, Harry, what do you think is the best colour pencil in the world, or what do you think is the worst colour pencil in the world? I don't think that there is such a thing. So I'll just use a pencil here to point. So the top layer here is one light layer of these colours. The next row down is 5 light layers on top of each other. I've explained why I do this in previous videos, but for the sake of maybe any new viewers to this channel, ordinarily whenever you're going to be using, I personally don't use odorless mineral spirits whenever I'm doing colour pencil work. I try to stay away from it, and I use I use like a pencil blender. For me personally, I either use a pencil blender or the white colour pencil, or a lighter shade of the tone that I'm using, whatever. I try to stay away from odorless mineral spirits. But for those that do use colour or odorless mineral spirits, they normally say that you need to have at the very least 5 layers of pigment down before you start using the odorless mineral spirits in order to get that painterly effect. So let me just try and zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so you can see a little bit better there. So so that's why I put 5 layers down, because if they lay on top of each other 5 times, that's a good indication of the pencil. Now, I would definitely not have got 5 layers on some of the watercolor paper or the Bristol vellum paper that I was using prior to this. When I was at about 3 layers, stuff like that, there, it just wasn't taken after that. This paper, however, I could layer a lot more than 5. And then this one here is a heavy layer, a heavy application of it, and it is a real heavy application. You can see there that it's dented the tooth, it's completely wiped out the tooth of the paper. But then, nonetheless, you can see how heavily pigmented these pencils are on the right type of paper. Now, this little test down below here is just a dry blending test. So I've got a blue, yellow, and red. I've created a green with the blue and yellow, and I've created an orange with the yellow and red. You can see there clearly that these pencils blend very well, and they create color really nicely. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the blue and the yellow. I'm gonna try and create a green, and I'm gonna use some odorless mineral spirits, and I'll do that on here. This black here that I've used is the ivory black, so that's kind of like the darker black that comes in the set. And you can see there that well, I hope you can see. I hope the camera's picking it up. This black here with the 5 layers, it's almost like a really dark burnt umber or something like that. I think it's probably, for me personally, it's not the darkest. I like the blacks to be really dark, but I know a lot of people complain that a lot of the black colored pencils in sets aren't natural enough. They're not like a natural black. But I would say that this one is probably one of the more natural blacks that I've seen. In that it has that kind of like that deep dark brown tone in it. So I just thought I would mention that. Now, obviously, I don't have a lot of time here to do this, so I'm not doing this as well as what you possibly could do. If you're going to be doing like a blending exercise, it is best that you take your time on it. Make sure that you're putting down, especially when you're using odorless mineral spirits, make sure that you're putting down plenty of layers. I've heard a lot of, or I've received a lot of questions about odorless mineral spirits and coloured pencils, and people ask me how do coloured pencil artists get that real painterly effect when they're using odorless mineral spirits, because when they use it, they don't get that that same type of effect. And after a little bit of probing, you tend to find out that the people that are asking the questions have perhaps maybe only put 1 or 2 layers of pigment down, which it's just not enough. There needs to be a good base of pigment down before you start applying odorless mineral spirits, because that way there's enough of the material there for the odorless mineral spirits to kind of like dissolve and blend together and keep running together. So that should be okay. So I have some zested here in this little pot. Hopefully this will turn out okay. There you go, and you can see there clearly the blue and the yellow have created a really nice green, and the material has reacted really well with the odorless mineral spirits as well. But some of that will also be down to the fact of the paper that's being used is you know, it's allowed me to get that number of layers down in order for the odorless mineral spirits to work properly. So I also whenever I'm doing these tests and stuff like that, I try to show you what the pigments are going to look like on dark paper, black paper. This is some Winsor & Newton black paper that I have, and you can see here that the Soho Urban Artist white is really quite nice, quite opaque. The yellow a little bit transparent, as with the red, but you can see here clearly that the blue and green are nice and opaque. Let me try and get a better angle of it, because I know that sometimes the camera doesn't show the true color. So I'll have some images, still images of this over on my written review over in the Art Gear Guide as well. Also as well over in the Art Gear Guide, I will have a full list of prices and what have you over there as well. Like I say, I try to stay away from adding prices here on the videos, because if it changes I can amend it on the written review, but I can't amend it on the video reviews. Okay, so that's my review of the Soho Urban Artist Colour Pencils, which is the in-house colour pencils for Jerry's Artarama. Like I said there, you know, this really does demonstrate how paper and the subject matter that you're doing is so vitally important in order for you to get the best from the materials that you're using. It took me a while to find the right paper, but once I did, the pencils that I was using, these Soho Urban Artist pencils, they completely transformed. I mean, it was like I say, it was like somebody who had handed me a completely different set of pencils, and I started being able to get the very best from these pencils that I was able to get, which is deep, rich color. It says on here on this on the tin here that they're highly pigmented for superior light fastness. Now, with regards to the light fastness, while we're on that subject, there's no hard and fast information that I could find with regards to the light fastness of the individual pencils. Just this statement that they are for superior light fastness. I have tried to reach out to Create a Colour to find out from them, but I haven't received anything back. And I much prefer going directly to the company rather than just, you know, looking around online for other people's opinions of what the light fast ratings are. So unless I get something back from Create a Colour with regards to the light fastness of the individual pencils, as far as this video is concerned, I'm just going to go with what it says on the tin here, which is that they are superior light fastness. You can take that any which way you want, but they are highly pigmented. When I was using the right paper, absolutely they were. They layered incredibly well. There's very little to no crumbling or anything they got from the pencils, and it says here as well that there's a minimal bloom or hazing, which is kind of like that tacky sheen that you get sometimes if you've put too many layers down. Again, when I was using the right paper, none of that either. So I very much, once I got the right paper, I very much enjoyed using these pencils. But up until then, testing the papers out and stuff like that and hitting the wrong papers, it was very frustrating. So, you know, like I said, it does prove that you must make sure that you have the right paper. Don't forget to see these pencils properly demonstrated. I will have some still images over in the Art Gear Guide of this artwork that I've done. I'll have some images popping up here now for you. And also I have a speed drawing as well, which you can go across and take a little look at that if you want. But sometimes the speed drawings give you a better demonstration. And like I said to you earlier on, primarily I don't use odorless mineral spirits, but with these pencils and this particular drawing, I used odorless mineral spirits on the entirety of the drawing actually. And that combination helped me to get the results that I got. Now, it's no masterpiece or anything like that, but it is a nice drawing, and it does demonstrate the vibrancy of the pigment within these pencils really nicely. And if you want to follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I'll have the links for that down below. You can also go across to the Art Gear Guide. There'll be links for it over there. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, they're some of probably the best places to follow me on if you want to find out about updates on new videos that are coming out and stuff. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching this. I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Bye.